Now that I see the police commissioner, Major General, always good to see you. I trust that you can hear me as well as Major General Vieri. I will now commence. Good morning. Good morning to all members of the Standing Committee on Community Safety, Cultural Affairs and Sport. We are today being briefed by the Department of Community Safety on the court watching brief for the last quarter towards 2020. We will then obtain SAPS's reply thereto. We will then engage in terms of our questions and answers to the department as well as the South African Police Service. Before we go any further, I will allow members to introduce themselves for the record. Thereafter, I will allow the HOD to indicate who is online in terms of the department's participation today, and thereafter to the Major General, the Police Commissioner, to introduce himself as well as the team that is with him. Members, over to you.
Good morning, Chairperson Lorraine Botha. Good morning to everyone else on the platform as well.
Good morning, Chairperson, all members and departments and guests. I'm Wendy Philander and I'm standing in for Member Gillian Bosman this morning. Thank you.
Good morning, Chairperson. I'm Ayanda Burns. Good morning, everyone on the platform. I'm also standing in today for Member Mesuli Kama as well. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much, HOD.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair and Honorable Members. I see from our side, I have the Acting Chief Director, Secretariat for Safety and Security, Mr. David Kutsia, the Deputy Director who heads the Court Watching Brief Unit, Advocate Zebanisa Khan, who is with us. Honorable Chair, I do not think my other colleagues are linked in as yet. They will possibly join us, Advocate Leslie Morris and Advocate Simvile Nonkula as well. I trust that they are linking in currently. So thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much to our SAPS. There we go.
Good morning, Chair. In the meeting, I'm Major General Particular, the Acting Provincial Commissioner. I am with Major General Vieri, the Deputy Provincial Commissioner for Detectives, and with two provincial heads, detectives, Brigadier Mkabile and Brigadier Sutherland. We will be presenting, and Brigadier Sutherland will be doing the presentation when we got an opportunity to do so. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Brigadier Sutherland is landing up in my inbox regularly with updates, which is highly appreciated. Members, today is a very important day for our colleagues in the Muslim faith, and we wish to extend our congratulations to them as they celebrate Eid today. We are also aware that yesterday the Christian community also celebrated Ascension Day, and we wish to extend our blessings to them and that they will be blessed during this time. Members, we are here to discuss the court watching brief, and we have with us our procedural officer, Nomonde Jamke, who is standing in for the very capable Wasim Matthews, who is celebrating Eid today. As indicated, Masuli Kama indicated that he has an emergency in the Eastern Cape, and we also think of him during this time. Hence, Ayanda Barnes, Member Ayanda Barnes is standing in for him, and Member Philander indicated for Member Bosman. We have received an apology for Provincial Minister Albert Fritz as well, and our procedural officer will accordingly note all of that. Thank you to the IT support that has helped this morning to set up, as well as the live link that is currently being flighted on YouTube. So members, on that note, welcome. This is a briefing on the court watching brief. If we consider fostering our relationships with the Department of Community Safety as well as with the South African Police Service. I'm fully aware that in terms of the Finance Committee, it became clear that even in terms of the division of revenue, that crime isn't directly looked at in terms of the crime. But here we have the department making money available for the court watching brief, and SAPS coming on board to see how those inefficiencies can be corrected so that victims ultimately are able to get justice, and that the trust in the entire justice system is then restored slowly but surely. So thank you so much to the department for being here. I will now allow directly over to the department to do their presentation. Thereafter, the South African Police Service will give their response thereto. We have received the documentation, the presentations via email, and I trust that members have perused it accordingly. Ms. Chamke, thank you once again for you being with us today. I trust that you will flight the presentation, or should the department do it directly?
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. We've asked Nomande to please flight it for us.
Thank you so much.
Do you know what they're referring to?
Give me time, Chair. Sorry.
No problem at all. We are meeting today on a Friday, members, due to the fact that we had the Premier and Constitutional Matters undertaking public hearings outside of Cape Town. Hence, the Programming Authority scheduled meetings for a Friday as well.
Can you see it, Chair?
Yes, I can see, Nomonde. We need first the docs one.
Oh, okay.
Thank you. Members, I'm delighted that in this meeting, we are fully aware of the rules of engagement as we've been doing it for a number of months already. There we go. Thank you so much, Nomonde.
Thank you so much, Nomande. Good morning again, Honorable Chairperson, members, as well as to the Acting PC and General Vieri as well. Our presentation this morning is on the Q3 report of our Court Watching Briefs unit. You can move to the next slide, Nomande. Honorable Chair, we have circulated or submitted our report in full to the Standing Committee. So our presentation will be very brief this morning. The Court Watching Briefs, just an introduction and background. So the Court Watching Brief program is an initiative of the Department of Community Safety as part of the constitutional oversight mandate in terms of Section 2063 of the Constitution. It entails the regular court attendance by qualified staff members, during which they monitor and report on the conduct, efficiency, and effectiveness of the South African Police Service in criminal matters being heard at court. A quarterly report on the findings is sent to the Provincial Commissioner of the SAPS in the Western Cape, affording him the opportunity to comment on such findings prior to the report being tabled to the provincial legislature. Thus far, the action taken by the SAPS management are disciplinary action against members, the completion of outstanding investigations, as well as requesting matters be re-enrolled on the court rolls. Next slide, please. Okay, some of the outcomes, the most common types of inefficiencies observed by members of the unit, which results in cases being removed from court rolls, are failure by SAPS to secure the docket at court, failure to timeously finalize the investigations, and failure to finalize the investigation within a reasonable time frame, where post-mortem reports, forensic drug reports, and blood alcohol reports are still outstanding, and then failure to subpoena witnesses to court timeously or not subpoena witnesses at all. The Q3 report is for the period October to December 2020. The unit attended or visited 19 courts in the metropole during the 3-month period. These courts service the identified priority police stations of Bishop Lavis, Delft, Guguletu, Harare, Khayelitsha, Kraaifontein, Mfuleni, Mitchells Plain, Nyanga, and Philippi East. The unit recorded 139 cases that were removed from various court rolls during this period, and the total number of dockets not at court was 76, and the total number of investigations not finalized, 63. Next slide, please. The top 3 offenses struck off the roll was assault, GBH, rape, and domestic violence. So it's 42 assault GBH matters, 18 rape. Nomonde, the previous slide, please. And 9 cases of domestic violence. Next slide, please. Responses from the SAPS to the Q3 report. It was sent to the Provincial Commissioner, and as indicated, we monitored a total of 139 cases. Responses were received for 117 cases. The number of disciplinary matters initiated amounted to 12, and then responses with regard to the top 3 offences are as follows: assault GBH, docket not taken to court on time or the complainant withdrew the case. Rape, most of the DNA reports were still outstanding, and this is obviously linked also to the backlogs at the forensic labs. And domestic violence, dockets were not at court or the complainant withdrew the case in the matter as well. Next slide, please. Thank you very much, Chairperson. So that brings me to the end of our very brief presentation. As indicated, the details are contained in our actual report that has been circulated to the members as well. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much, HOD Pillay, for your presentation. Members, based on the presentation and the document that has been received and our understanding of how important the court watching brief is to ensure that members, that victims of crime get their justice. So thank you so much for the role that this unit is playing, and also for SAPS for coming on board and for replying, and also for being here today to brief us on the responses. To the Acting Provincial Commissioner, I will now hand over directly to you, sir, before we go over to further deliberations. Nomonde will also flight the SAPS presentation. Okay. So we are delighted that Major General is here, as well as Major General Vieri, as well as 2 brigadiers. Thank you. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Chair, and the honorable members. Our Advocate Pillay has summarized what we're going to be doing. But if then we have to go into details per court what has happened. But all I want also to say that the COVID itself has played a certain role also in some of the matters. But what is in the summary that is what we were given to the Department of Community Safety. but we are delighted that we get an opportunity to state our case on the matter, and we are also assisting us to follow up where we can't see, but we keep on improving every day on these matters. I shall then give to Brigadier Sutherland to take us through with the responses that we have per court, what has transpired. But it is also true that the matters that are beyond our powers, for example, the medical reports, the forensic reports, which has been a little bit of a challenge. Hopefully that this year will be overcome. Then you over to you, Brigadier Sutherland.
Thank you very much, General. Good morning, Honourable Chair and other members, as well as the other role players. I am Brigadier Sutherland. I'm currently the acting provincial head of our crime investigation services in the Western Cape. And I will be doing this presentation this morning to you. We thought it would be prudent to break down the specifics into the different courts, just to give you a clear indication of what actually happened for the third quarter in the courts and what were our findings upon receipt of the watching briefs document. So we've been saying that the PC has been receiving reports from docs and the watching briefs on a quarterly basis, and this is coming from 2015, the end of 2015 already. In these reports, possible inefficiencies or failure by SAPS were identified, which could potentially lead to criminal cases being struck from the court rolls. The shortcomings were brought to the attention of SAPS, who has taken action to prioritize these cases in order to place them back on the court roll. And we are also saying that we are embracing this initiative in order to finalize the case dockets as quick as possible to ensure that justice is being served and criminals being prosecuted. Next slide, please. Honourable Chair, here you can see that we actually, since we received the specific reports, we placed a system in place where we, can monitor what has been going out to our stations and then to get the feedback back at the provincial office. So when the specific watching brief report is received at the provincial commissioner offices, the provincial commissioner will then distribute the report to the provincial detectives, that is the Office of Major General Veery, and we will then distribute it to the specific cluster detective officers. The cluster detective officers will then make sure that they take all the cases that is in their specific cluster. They will bring the dockets in, they will inspect it to, in other words, compare the finding of the watching briefs with what actually happened in court. Do we agree or not? And if we don't agree, what was the reasons for that? They will then compile, for this purposes, we actually developed a template at the provincial office, specifically for them to identify what was the possible reasons for dockets not being at court or dockets maybe late at court. When they've compiled that report, the report with the findings will come back to the provincial detectives, and we here at the provincial detectives will then complete this document and submit it to the provincial commissioner. The provincial commissioner, if he's happy with the document, will then sign the document off and provide it back to the watching briefs at docs. Next slide, please. Honourable Chair and members, as I've said, our presentation is a bit more comprehensive because we wanted to specifically show you at every court what happened there and what was the findings. Yes, Advocate Pillay has indicated there was a total of 139 cases that were actually made available to us and which were then given back to the detective coordinators to inspect these case dockets. If we start with the Athlone Court, There were a total of 11 cases provided to us. There you will see we are speaking about the Athlone, Guguletu, Manenberg, Nyanga and Philippi East stations. We've broken down the specific charges to 2 murders, 2 attempted murders, 1 robbery aggravated, 5 GBHs and 1 malicious damage to property. On the right-hand side, you will see that the watching brief findings indicated that of these 11 dockets, 5 were incomplete and 6 were not at court. Upon the inspection and perusal of these case dockets, we have found that with the reference to the 5 investigations incomplete, that 4 of them were as a result of post-mortem and medical reports that were outstanding, and that 1 of these cases of the 5 were actually withdrawn by the complainant. If we refer to the 6 dockets that was not at court, we agree that there were 4 case dockets not at court, and we have taken 4 disciplinary action in these 4 cases. 1 docket was indicated to us was at court because there was a warrant of arrest issued on that day. And in 1 case, we received the wrong case number was provided to us in the report. Next slide, please. Here we are speaking about the Atlantis Court. There were 4 cases identified at the Atlantis Court, 3 for Atlantis and 1 for Melkbos-Strand. 1 robbery, 1 possession of ammunition, 1 assault GBH and 1 common assault. The watching briefs indicated to us that there were 1 investigation incomplete and 3 dockets not at court. If we look at the 1 incomplete, we agree and disciplinary action was taken in that specific case. And if we look at the 3 dockets not at court, we agreed 2 dockets was not at court and disciplinary action were taken in both cases. And then in 1 instance, we have found that the docket was never returned from court after the initial appearance date. Next slide, please. We refer now to the Bellville Court, 7 cases identified. Delft, 4, Parow 2, Ravensmead 1, 1 attempted murder, 2 assault with the intent to cause grievous bodily harm, 1 rape, 2 domestic violence, and 1 dealing in drugs. The watching brief findings indicate to us that the investigation that were incomplete was 4 and dockets at court 3. If we look at the 4 dockets that indicated investigation incomplete, we agree. And the reason for that was that the forensic reports and chain statements were still outstanding. In 2, if we look at the dockets not at court, in 2 of these instances, the member was in quarantine and the dockets did not go to court. And in 1 case, the case was withdrawn prior to the court date on request of the complainant. Next slide, please. Bishop Lavis Court, 4 cases identified, 3 at Bishop Lavis, 1 in Langa, 1 rape, 1 assault GBH, 1 possession of ammunition, 2 investigation incomplete and 2 not at court were identified by the watching briefs. In terms of the investigation incomplete, SAPS found that 1 forensic DNA report was outstanding, and in the other case, the case was withdrawn by the complainant. In terms of the 2 dockets not at court, we found that in 1 case, the docket was at court, but struck off the court row due to the investigation that was incomplete. In that case, the ballistic report was still outstanding. And in the second case, the docket was at court and then withdrawn by the complainant. Next slide, please. Blue Downs Court, there were a total of 10 cases identified, 5 Kleinvlei, 5 Mfuleni, 1 murder, 3 assault GBH, 3 were a contravention of a protection order, 2 possession of unlicensed firearm, and 1 possession of ammunition. The watching brief identified at that court that 2 investigations were incomplete and 8 dockets were not at court. The SAP's findings in this instance were that in 2 cases, we agree the forensic and ballistic reports were outstanding still, and dockets not at court, we do agree that the dockets were at court but late at court. So in this instance, there were also 7 disciplinary actions taken in these 7 dockets. And then in the 8th docket, the wrong court date was placed by the prosecutor on the front cover of the docket. Next slide, please. Good. 11 cases were identified, 1 in Elsie's River, 10 in Ravensmead. If we break it down, it is assault GBH 4, dealing in drugs 1, pointing of a firearm 1, and possession of drugs 5. Watching brief findings, 9 incomplete, 2 dockets not at court. In terms of the investigations incomplete, SAPS found that in 5 of these instances of the 9, forensic reports were outstanding. 3 dockets, which were indicated was investigation incomplete, were at court and went through the processes. And in 1 case, there was 1 invalid case number provided by the watching briefs. In terms of the 2 dockets not at court, we agree, and in 1 instance, disciplinary action was taken, and in the other instance, the case was withdrawn prior to the court date on request of the complainant. Next slide, please. Kailicha Court. There were 18 cases, 4 in Harare, 13 Kailicha, 1 in Lingaletu West. The different charges were murder 2, 1 attempted murder, 10 rapes, 1 sexual assault, 1 assault GBH, 1 possession of unlicensed firearm, and 1 arson. Watching brief findings, investigation incomplete 3, dockets at court 15. In terms of the investigation incomplete, we have found that of the 3, 2 forensic reports were outstanding, and in 1 instance, the docket was at court but misplaced, and then the case was withdrawn by the SPP. In terms of the docket not at court, we have found that in those cases, the dockets, 8 were forensic reports that was outstanding. In 2 instances, dockets was at court but misplaced. In 1 case, the docket at court and there was a warrant of arrest issued. In 2 instances, the wrong case number was provided by the watching briefs. In 1 instance, withdrawn by complainant prior to court appearance. And in 1 case, the witness did not attend the consultation. Next slide, please. Kuils River Court, 18 cases. 4 in Brackenfell, 18 Kraaifontein, and 5 Kuils River. The charges, murder 1, GBH 8, rape 1, sexual assault 1, common assault 6, domestic violence 1, robberies 3, burglary residential 2, possession of drugs 4. The watching brief found that in 9 instances, the investigation was incomplete, and in 18 instances, the dockets were not at court. Upon the inspections, we agree that in 9 instances, the investigation was incomplete because the forensic DNA and medical reports were outstanding, and in 1 of these instances, a disciplinary action was taken. In terms of the 18 dockets not at court, the SAPS has found that in 1 instance, the docket was sent to court, to the wrong court. It was sent to the Blue Downs Court instead of the Kuils River Court. In 1 instance, the wrong court date was placed on the docket by the prosecutor. In 2 instances, the case was withdrawn prior to the court date. In 3 instances, the dockets were late at court and we took action in all 3 of these cases. 4 dockets was misplaced at court, and in 7 instances, we have found that the dockets were indeed at court. Next slide, please. At the Malmesbury Court, Honourable Chair, there were 9 cases identified, 6 from Malmesbury and 3 Riebeek West. 1 attempted murder, 3 rape, 4 assault GBH, 1 possession of unlicensed firearm. Watching brief findings indicated that in 8 of these cases, the investigations were incomplete, and in 1 instance, the docket was not at court. We agree on the 8 or on 7 of the 8, saying that the forensic reports upon perusal were found to be still outstanding. And in 1 instance, the wrong case number was provided by the watching briefs. In terms of the 1 docket not at court, we agree, and in that specific case, disciplinary action has been taken. Next slide, please. Mitchell's Plain Court, total of cases 5. They were all at the Mitchell's Plain Court. 1 was murder, 4 was assault GBH. Western watching briefs findings indicated investigation incomplete 2, docket not at court 3. In terms of the 2 dockets that were indicated as investigation incomplete, we have found that the forensic and medical reports were still outstanding. In terms of the 3 dockets, as indicated, was not at court, we say that the 1 docket was at court. There was a warrant of arrest issued. Another docket was at court, but it was taken to court on the court date. And then in the 3rd instance, the docket was at court, but the charge sheet could not be traced. Next slide, please. Paarl Court, 8 were indicated, the cases. If we break it down on the stations, it's 1 for Klapmuts, 4 for Paarl, 3 for Paarl East. Charges: 1 murder, 1 statutory rape, 1 sexual assault, 1 GBH, 1 robbery aggravated, 1 possession of unlicensed firearm, and 2 possession of drugs. The watching briefs has found that in 8 of these cases, investigations were incomplete. Upon our perusal and inspection, we have found that in 6 of these instances, the forensic and post-mortem reports were still outstanding. 1 docket was still at the DPP for a decision, and one wrong case number provided by the watching briefs. Next slide, please. At the Philippi Court, a total of 8 cases identified, 3 for Guguletu, 1 Nyanga, 1 Philippi East, 1 Samora Machel. The charges were 4 assault GBHs, 1 theft, 1 pointing of firearm. In terms of the 1 that were identified as investigation incomplete, we have found that the docket was actually mediated between the 2 parties. And then in the 5 cases that was not at court, we say that in 2 instances, the dockets were not at court. We have taken disciplinary action in those 2 cases. And 1 we have found was at court, and 2 we have found wrong case numbers provided by the watching briefs. Next slide, please. Simonstown Court, 1 case identified. Simonstown, it was an attempted murder. The watching briefs have found that the investigation was incomplete. We do agree, and we're saying that it was the medical report upon the inspection that we found was still outstanding. Next slide, please. At the Somerset West Court, 1 case was identified at Makassar Station. It was an assault GBH. The watching briefs have found that the docket was not at court. And upon our perusal and inspection, we have found that the docket was not endorsed by the SPP with a new court date on the front cover of the docket. Next slide, please. Stellenbosch Court, 2 cases identified at Stellenbosch. 1 was a GBH, 1 a domestic violence. The watching briefs found that in 2 of these instances, the dockets were not at court. And upon our perusal of the cases, we have determined that the dockets were at court. Next slide, please. Vredenburg Court, there were 3 cases identified at Vredenburg, 1 GBH, 1 common assault, 1 malicious damage to property. In 2 of these findings, the watching briefs indicated that the investigation was incomplete. and 1 docket not at court. Upon our perusal, we have found that in 1 instance, the complainant was untraceable in terms of the investigation incomplete, and 1 case was withdrawn by complainant prior to the appearance date. And in terms of the 1 docket that was indicated that was not at court, we found that the docket was at court and that the complainant was not available, was not at court. Next slide, please. The Wynberg Court, 9 cases identified, 1 at Deep River, 2 Grassy Park, 1 Lansdowne, 1 Samora Machel, 1 Steenberg, 1 Wynberg, 2 Hout Bay. It's 1 attempted murder, 1 rape, 1 sexual assault, assault with the intent to cause grievous bodily harm, there's 2, contravention of a protection order, there's 1, robbery 1, and possession of an unlicensed firearm 2. The watching briefs indicated that there were 7 investigations incomplete and 2 dockets not at court. SAPS has found that in terms of the 7 cases being incomplete, in 4 of those instances, the forensic reports were still outstanding. In 1 case, mediation took place. In 1 case, we were provided with the wrong case number. In 1 case, it was withdrawn in court and no reason provided by the senior public prosecutor. In terms of the 2 dockets not at court, SAPS has found that in 1 instance, a wrong case number was provided, and in 1 instance, the docket was at court, but it was found that it was misplaced at court. And then, thank you, Wellington Court, there were 1 case identified. The charge was robbery, and the watching briefs has identified that the docket was not at court. And upon our perusal, we have found that the docket was at court, but the complainant was not at court. So, honourable chairs and members and other role players, thank you very much. This was the presentation provided by SAPS after we then went through the document of the watching briefs. We got all the cases in. We actually checked what is the problem. And from here now, we have indicated that there's disciplinary steps in certain of these cases, but we have also taken these cases and ensure that those that has been identified for not being on the court roll, maybe that we have found all the investigations or the PMs and go back and try and get these cases specifically back on the court roll to ensure that it's been speedily dealt with. Thank you very much, Honourable Chair.
Thank you so much, Brigadier Sutherland. Members, as we have perused the presentations, we have also been briefed by the Department of Community Safety as well as SAPS on the response to the court watching brief for the 3rd quarter. I will now open up for engagement in the form of questions to be posed by members, clarity-seeking questions, or any input at this time. As you can see, that this program is of vital importance in terms of our oversight role to ensure that we promote justice for victims. So thank you to the South African Police Service for your attendance here today. You could have been in Blue Downs, Major General Vieri, but thank you that you are here today. It is appreciated. I see Member Lorraine Botha and Member Ayanda Barnes in that order.
Chair, I just want to allude you to, I saw Major General Patakile's hand was raised as well before I raised mine.
Thank you so much. Duly noted.
Sorry, Chair.
Major General, I give over to you. Do you want to make any concluding remarks on the presentation?
Thank you, Chair. I was just going to ask General Berry to give an opportunity to give that as this is the competence of the detectives. Thank you, Chair.
Chair, if you look at the reasons given or the findings that SAPS gave, you'll notice they range from warrant issued, withdrawn by complainant, medical reports outstanding, a wide range of reasons that would otherwise not be detected if the watching brief personnel merely sit, if they sit in the court and they hear the case is scrapped off the roll, taken off the roll, they would not understand these factors now. This will only come through further inquiry outside of the session of the court. What I want to propose is from the side of the watching brief is that engage with the SPP or the court officials after sitting, after hearing this in court. And then a lot of these reasons that we are giving you now will be clarified by itself in that thing. And it will then enable you in the beginning, before we respond later in a meeting of this nature, to have a much more accurate reflection of the statistics that you might compile based on your sittings in the court. So I would advise that we do that in that particular way. I would suggest also to assist you maybe on a few, let's say in Wynberg Court or the big court, that just to illustrate this to you, we can arrange that through Brigadier Sutherland, that we select a day when some of your people will be in the court, and then we can actually practically demonstrate that to you through assisting you with the post-inquiries after that. But we will not be able to do that in everything. We just want to illustrate the point that I'm making today and how it would be better to have a post-court inquiry before we make the statement, to inform what is meant by investigation incomplete more scientifically. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Major General Vieri. The committee has taken note of your comment, and in our deliberations, we will definitely sketch a way forward as well. I wanted to double check just before we proceed if the HOD would want to say anything at this time.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. I just wanted to just add as well, I have noted from our side there were some wrong case numbers. So just to say at the onset, I think we definitely have to improve our checks and controls as the department as well, and the unit. But then also to mention that going forward, because we are going to be prioritizing the murder stations and the courts that deal with those priority stations, the focus will be narrowed so that we could then improve also on our systems and processes. I think it's important, as General Vieri indicated, there has to be engagement together with the SAPs as well as with the NPA as well. Well, prior to lockdown, we used to present our report on a quarterly basis to the Criminal Proceedings Coordinating Committee that was chaired by Advocate de Kock. But those meetings have not taken place. But definitely, I think we can definitely improve on our systems and processes, also our coordination and communication with the SAPs. I think it's important that when the report is finalized, that we should actually have an engagement with the acting PC and his management team so we can discuss some of these issues, because it's not just about pointing out the issues, but how do we collectively work towards resolving some of these issues and better improve our communication and coordination and cooperation with each other. I just want to also just mention, Honorable Chair, we've had wonderful collaboration and cooperation with the SAPs, the acting PC and the team, and just not on this matter, but also with the LEAP deployment, the operations in the murder stations, the Safer City initiative. So I want us to be able to walk that path together. Obviously, the department has an oversight mandate, but it doesn't prevent us from collaborating and cooperating and having, engaging in that spirit and how best we can work together to make the Western Cape safer. Thank you.
Thank you so much, HOD. I will now note,
Chairperson.
Member Christians, I note your hand as well, sir.
No, yeah, okay. No, because I'm in as a guest, so I don't know. So I don't know if you can recognize me, but thank you.
I saw your your hand up. I've opened up the attendance on my side, so you are covered, sir. Also, may I take this opportunity, Member Christians, on you are now Dr. Christians. So well done to you on that as well. But let me go over to Member Botha, Member Barnes, Member Christians in that order.
Thank you very much, Chair. And as a member of this committee, I welcome the proposal by General Vieri, and we should definitely take him up on that. Chair, I want to ask in regard to the department's presentation, I just want to check with the department in regard to the inefficiencies that was highlighted. Whether the HOD could tell us going forward in the fourth quarterly report, does this picture change somewhat? And then in regard to the SAPS presentation, I want to know around the disciplinary actions that was taken against members, was there any sanctions imposed? And what was the kind of sanctions that was imposed on members? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much, Member Ayanda Barnes.
Thank you, Chairperson, for the opportunity. And I must say, I'm also grateful for the department and SAPS itself for well-intense and, in fact, informative presentation that they have given us. I'm well covered by the second question of Member Botha because my interest was on the dockets not found and the disciplinary actions that were taken. I wanted to know, same way as Member Botha, what sanctions are made in cases like this. The last one will be more clarity. I've seen on the slide of Khayelitsha, I don't know if I may be answered on this one, but I've seen strangely that forensic report outstanding as part of the dockets not found is very high. What could be the reason for that? Can I just get maybe a brief explanation, or so that I can understand from my side, why is it 8? It sounds a bit abnormal. If I just can be clarified on that one. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you so much, Member Christians.
Thank you much. Thank you very much, Chair. I think this was a very good presentation from SAPS. I think it's well done, Brigadier Sutherland. I also think, like the HOD of DOC said, I think more collaboration can take place. If that can take place, it just makes it so much, more effective when it comes to the courts. So I believe that, I've been in this committee for some time, and the courts watch briefs was there to assist and to see what is the shortcomings. But I'm also delighted that SAPS, I think SAPS is doing a good job because of the answers they gave. When it came to the shortcomings. But at least, Chair, this is just what I want to say. It's not a question. I just want to say, at least if they, like the HOD says, if they can work together better, and as General Vieri pointed out, working together the way forward, I think this engagement will be much shorter because there will be a better understanding. So thank you for the department. Thank you for SAPS for the excellent presentations. But I think we're much wiser now, seeing that the reports from DOCS and the report from SAPS. So we know now exactly where SAPS are, where DOCS are, and that we will have shorter reports, but also the collaboration between the two will help us going forward. But the main thing, Chair, is, of course, to make sure that our criminal justice system, that from SAPS' side, the dockets is handed in time, and all of those shortcomings. So that isn't what it's all about. We just want to see that the victim, when the victim goes to court, that justice prevail, and that is the big thing for us, Chairperson. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Member Christians. I am covered and I appreciate the input from Member Botha as well. As a committee, we will definitely discuss that moving forward. I'm covered by the one on what disciplinary action has been taken, but I also wanted to check via SAPS if any SAPS members were ever dismissed in terms of certain inefficiencies that came out in court where dockets weren't at court, etc. But then I would just want to double check. And Brigadier Sutherland, when I double checked the court watching brief, there was one particular case that stood out for me, and that is case number 1/442/19. I repeat, it is case number 1/442/19. In this particular matter, it is in Khayelitsha, and it is alleged that a 3-year-old female victim was raped. And based on the amount of dates in that particular briefing, it's about 10 dates before the investigation was struck off the roll, or it was incomplete. Are you able to speak to that one, please? Over to, I'll first give over to SAPS and then over to the department for any comment or answers for the first round.
Must we continue, Chair? Chair?
Yes, sir. I just struggled to unmute. I'll hand over to you to discuss, to give feedback based on the questions and input from members.
Thank you, Chair. Just one upfront, because so that General very will answer specifics. But upfront, when we talk about discipline, we talk about corrective measures, which start with warnings, hearings, and then that goes to dismissal. As to say whether ever in the last few years, then that would it is not a dismissible for now. But I don't think that we've had that. But we will just check and we'll make sure, and we will correct it in writing if there was ever any dismissal on that one. With the specific on forensic and other questions, and that specific case that in particular, I'll ask General Very to take us through. Thank you, sir.
When we previously addressed this in Provincial Parliament, we gave an explanation on some of the reasons in broad terms, but let me repeat them, and perhaps with a little bit more specific. The challenge in the SAPS in terms of forensic reports, particularly when one is dealing with, like, for example, biology reports, one is dealing with the type of forensic analysis that involves certain key chemicals to be used to process the exhibits. In terms of that, there has been contract management challenges, which is well documented, and in National Parliament, the National Commissioner has responded to, and the Minister has pronounced on it. Now, what you see is the practical outcome of what that means. If you go to the reason post-medical report, before that forensic DNA report outstanding, that is, for example, the one you need certain chemical reagents to process the sample, and if that is not available, you will never be able to analyze the sample. Now, the sample would therefore lie there until the contract is sorted out for that to be dealt with. So that was the one contract management challenge. The other one was a contract management challenge that I referred to. Is around the evidence management system at forensics. You understand, when we refer to chain statements sometimes, we're referring to a chain of possession, for example, in this case, of a certain sample as it traverses its course in the forensic department from receipt to dispatch to analysis to that, and the whole circle back to us again. Now, if there's challenge with the electronic management or computer management of that system and the software challenges, then it means we cannot objectively prove that chain. In other words, the exhibit cannot be tracked and traced objectively, as is the standard that is required by the court. Because we're now in the age of computers. It's no more like in the 70s where we physically need to bring the one who handed over the one to the other one and they handed that. We are beyond that era now. Now, if we have challenges in that, we therefore cannot go to the court and explain to the court that, okay, fine, we did the analysis and everything is done. It took us 6 months. Now the agents are finally available. But now, unfortunately, we cannot give you the chain of possession of this exhibit while it was there because the exhibit management system is a challenge. Now, those contract issues are the subject of, I think, inquiries that only national and the ministerial level can deal with and answer. It's nothing that we can do anything about. But that is where we stand. However, given those challenges, we do not only throw our hands up in the air, except for hard scientific kind of analysis and chains. We do try where we can to revert back to the manual, the old school methods, but it is still comparatively slow and it is labor intensive, and forensic department doesn't have the kind of labor complement, and neither do we in the detectives have it to meet that labor intensive need that reverting to a total manual system again would be. So that is the challenge with it. Now, what happens in court is obviously a magistrate is not going to be patient, and neither is the SPP, with keeping a case on the roll, and we're sitting with a suspect, maybe the suspect is in custody or not, who's probably going to be sit for the next 6 to a year, months, because we cannot give a finite date when this problem will be solved. And take the case of the roll and tell us to come back once we have that vital piece of evidence that is there. I think the same comes to, for example, let's talk about Department of Health type of reports. There we talk about post-mortems and we talk about maybe some blood reports and those kind of things. I just want to deal with that quickly. Now, in terms of the Department of Health, you know, it's entirely outside of our control, so they would be in the best position to explain that. But the knock-on effect of us not getting these things in time has consequences for us that takes the docket of the road, because I'm sure you will understand, even though if I was on the crime scene and there was somebody murdered, it can only be proved ultimately objectively by the post-mortem report. And if the post-mortem report is going to take me the next 4 months to get, then I'm sitting with a murder case on the roll, and the magistrate will lose patience with me for constant postponements, because we're both wasting the court's time in that particular case. So those are some, and we cannot give a finite answer as to when exactly. So those are some of the concerns are exactly the same. Other kind of tests like toxology reports, is even outsourced to another institution, and in that particular to a private institution, and in that particular case, yeah, it depends on when we get it from the private institution. Now let's come to, I cannot comment specifically on CAS 442 of 1, is it 2019? I'm not quite sure, but let me tell you what is the average case with rape things. I think all the rape cases are also affected by the DNA, the chemical reagent issues, so that's fairly obvious. But let's talk about younger children who are raped. What is essential in FCS is our forensic social work there must first prepare and debrief and prepare the victim before we can subject it to the victim to the type of hard level inquiry that a normal detective would do. And that is a naturally built-in delay in that, I wanted to say. And until we've completed that, the case cannot be finalized. So those are just generally some of the factors that are involved in this particular process. So wherever you hear about DNA, wherever you hear about blood reports, wherever you hear about toxology reports, have due regard for the fact that some of these matters are outside of our control and need solutions at another level and are subject to work turnover cycles of departments that are not within our operational control. I hope that answers the question. In terms of the specific case, we will follow up the specific case to give you an answer. I'm not sitting with a docket in front of me now. Thank you.
Thank you so much to the South African Police Service. Members, I see member Christians, your hand is up for a second round, I believe, but before we get back to members, I'm going to give over to the HOD.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. I am going to hand over to Advocate Khan to answer Honorable Member Botha's question on the Q4 report and how that compares to the findings of the Q3 report. And she may want to also make further comments. Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Thank you so much. Advocate Khan, I saw your hand. Thank you so much. We will now note you. Advocate, you are muted.
Muted.
My apologies. Sorry, my Eid brain is on today.
A blessed Eid to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm going to try and be as brief as possible, but also concise. With regard to our Q4 report, which is the period January until March, there has been a slight decrease in the number of cases reported. You will understand that because it's also the holiday period, not many cases are placed on the court roll, but the offences remain serious as always. The highest systemic failure being the dockets not at court, as well as investigations still being incomplete, not within a reasonable time as a magistrate or a prosecutor would want. With regard to Honourable Member, is it Botha that asked that one? And then I just wanted to respond to Major General Veery with regard to members sitting in court and recording matters that they hear. Because we're only 3 members at the moment, we cannot be at every court every day. So most of our recordings take place from the charge sheet, which is a public document made available to the team members so that we can record all the cases that are struck off the roll. So from the report, you would also notice that our narrative explains from the date of first appearance until the matter is struck off the roll, the reasons why. And most of the time it will indicate that there's always a further postponement for further investigations. I wanted to just make that clear as well, that most or all of our information comes from the charge sheet, which the magistrate is recording at all times. Then secondly, with regard to SAPS indicating that some of the case numbers or CAS numbers were incorrect, I will concede to that because we're dealing with a document that is handwritten. And sometimes a 3 might be a 8, or 8 might be a 3, a 7 might be a 1, or a 1 might be a 7. So it's not intentionally that we give the wrong case numbers or CAS numbers. It could be just the handwriting of the person that filled in the charge sheet.
Advocate, you went mute again for the last 5 seconds only.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, see, I think I covered most of the questions, if I'm correct.
Thank you so much, Advocate. Our meeting is to foster these relationships, to come up with a way that we are working together. Major General, I note your hand went up, Commissioner.
Yes.
I think that is precisely what I was explaining about getting to the reasons beyond the charge sheet. A charge sheet is sometimes a scribbled document that only gives you a summative synopsis, not even a synopsis for that matter, but a quick statement. And the standard crop of statements are investigation and complete. But what it means practically when you break it down to this level, you would not be able to get that truth from the mere looking at the charge sheet. You would not discover on the charge sheet that the reason why investigation is complete is that the post-mortem and the medical report is outstanding. And that is why that post-charge sheet type of inquiry before to explain the term investigation incomplete is of vital importance. And to also understand that investigation incomplete is not a negative judgment against the performance of the police in some cases, but against other government departments who are part of the chain of delivery in terms of processing exhibits and whatever reports are required. I hope we understand that it's in that spirit that I ask that let's test these things and go to a particular court through one exercise with Brigadier Sutherland's people so that we can actually show you practically the limitations of drawing conclusions on the basis of what you see on a charge sheet. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Members, I am allowing for engagement today. I can sense that members would be on board in terms of how we are fostering this particular meeting, and I trust that you will find that in order. So I am going to note Advocate Pillay again, and directly thereafter, I'm going to open up to members. If there's any further questions or further input from members, we will then be able to proceed accordingly. HOD, over to you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. I just wanted to agree with General Veery's input as well. So that it also confirms the need for us to be engaging with the SAPS and the NPA before we finalize our quarterly reports. Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Thank you so much. Members, is there any follow-up questions or any further question? HOD and Commissioner, based on that silence, I trust that this meeting was extremely fruitful. Let me give it one more time, members. Any question, follow up? We will be making our recommendations hereafter, but we do appreciate the fact that the HOD is here as well as the entire SAPS management with Major General Patekile. I'm going to allow Major General Patekile to make any concluding remarks, and thereafter to HOD Advocate Pillay for concluding remarks before the committee remain to conclude our business.
Thank you, Chair. I think we've made a program, so then we will try to Advocate Pillay and I that we iron out these other issues, because I'm sure most of these things could have been sorted out before the land up here if we had done what General Veery was saying. But we appreciate the input and we want to improve. But it is important that we take this seriously when that assists us also to look at our service delivery, measuring our performance as far as the cases in court, because we also want to finish many of the things. And as far as some other things that are not beyond our control, I would hope that especially Department of Health would then assist us. We know that then there's been problems with COVID for everyone, but I'm sure then the courts will rely on we rely on other departments to assist us with the investigation, especially when it comes to postmortems, toxicology, and other things. So by those few words, then I'm sure we'll find one another somewhere. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much, HOD.
Thank you, Honorable Chair and members, for this opportunity as well. So I think I have indicated our way forward in terms of ensuring that there are more engagements with the SAPs and the NPA in relation to the reports, and before they are finalized. We will then schedule our meetings for the year to occur after our reports are submitted to the SAP, so the acting PC and his team, as well as the department, can then peruse the report and clean up some of the matters. Where there are further details, we can add that as well, so it becomes a document that contains a full picture of what is what is the situation at the courts and with the cases, but then also I think with the view in mind to ensuring that there's justice for our community members out there, and that matters are brought to court timeously, and that is the reason we are all here, to make their lives better and to ensure our various systems in the criminal justice sector work efficiently and effectively as well. So we definitely want to support SAPS towards that end. Thank you.
Thank you so much, HOD. I will now at this time once again thank the South African Police Service as well as the Department of Community Safety for your attendance here today. You are more than happy to have coffee in your office at this time, and I sincerely trust that there will be justice even in the Blue Downs court, sir. Or I must come to your office for some coffee soon. But thank you so much, and we do appreciate the engagement. On a Friday, I can see that our relationships are being fostered as we work towards one common goal in order to make the Western Cape a safer place for all. You are highly appreciated. Thank you, HOD, Commissioner Jeremy Veery, Major General Veery. Thank you so much. You are now accordingly excused.
Thank you, Honorable Chair and members.
Members, we will allow a minute for... Oh, that was quick. Everyone left already. Members, we will now, in terms of our program, but I firstly would want to again say thank you for being online on this Friday afternoon. I see Member Christians is still on. You are still on, Member Christians. Oh, yes, I see. I see Member Christians is still on. Members, we will now conclude our committee business. We have a number of minutes that we need to adopt. I will request that Namonde flight the relevant minutes. If we can commence with...
Sorry, Chair, and I think first we must finalize the presentation, everything that just transpired.
Yes.
Are there any resolutions from the members from this meeting?
Yes, so sorry. Thank you, Nomonde. Do you see what I can't cope without you and Wasim, but thank you so much. Members, I have noted that Member Botha indicated based on the input from docs and SAPs for a post-court, I wrote it down, for a post-charge sheet inquiry to be conducted. which will provide greater clarity between these reports and relationships between SAPs. I trust that we find that in order as a resolution, as a committee. Is that in order, Member Botha?
In order, Chair, with me.
Thank you. So as a committee, in terms of our recommendations that the post charge sheet inquiry should be undertaken by the Department of Community Safety and the South African Police Service. Is there anything else? I'm not sure if they, I think Nomonde, the commissioner indicated that they will be coming back to us with more of the disciplinary information, but he was breaking up at that time as well. I'm not sure if you caught anything.
I think, Chair, it was when you asked whether there were any officials that were dismissed because of these incomplete documents, your dockets and etc. And they said that they don't have that information at hand. They will get back to the committee with regards to that, but they also talk about corrective measures before dismissal. So I'm not sure now whether now that is still a recommendation or it's still information that you need.
Members, are we able to just get that breakdown from SAPS in terms of disciplinary matters, in terms of that it is disciplinary one, it's a warning, corrective measures. Nomonde, almost like we get an understanding on what that actually means, what disciplinary action actually means in terms of the various steps. Members, does that make sense?
Chair,
Yes,
if I can come in, yes, it makes sense. And also, I don't think that the General quite briefly answered on that question. He did not give a breakdown as the breakdowns was mentioned within the presentation and what the sanctions pertaining to the different courts were.
Yeah.
Nomonde, yes, that I fully hear. Nomonde, it is about if one person might have received his second warning already or his third warning already. In that regard, members, can I, between myself and Nomonde, phrase that and submit that in a in a request for information, if that's in order with all members.
Chairperson, I am in agreement.
Thank you so much. I will phrase that with Nomonde and definitely add that as a request for information. If there's nothing else on this matter, no further request for other information. Member Barnes, you had your mic switched on earlier.
No, Chair, I was actually agreeing.
Thank you so much. Always good hearing your voice. Members, I trust that is now concluded. Nomonde, you are covered. Your side, I will be in contact with you in terms of the phrasing for the request for information. Members, in terms of our minutes that should be adopted, we are now flighting 04 March 2021. Page number 1 is, please check your name for attendance. Members, do we have any members moving to adopt the minutes?
I move to adopt, Chair.
Thank you so much, Member Botha. And that is seconded by, it can only be Member Christians.
Only be Member Christians.
Member Christians, okay.
Thank you, Dr. Christians. That is now, members, just for 1 minute, I would also like to speak on this particular one, is that a committee we attempted to get into to get a date, but that date will potentially now only be for June. The divisional cluster, the divisional commander for the Plattekloof Forensic Science Laboratory is engaging national SAPs in order to get permission from national SAPs in order to engage our committee. They are keen, in my understanding, that we would be able to conduct that oversight. But in terms of the processes and the request for that to be allowed needs to come from national, but I will definitely keep members in the loop in that regard. Thank you. So these minutes are now adopted, Namonde. We can go to the second one. Die 31ste March, 31ste Maart. Members, please check your name. We can go down. Page number 2. Page number 3. Members, are we able to adopt the minutes?
Adopt, Chair.
Thank you so much, Member Christians, and that will be
Second
seconded
that.
by Member Botha. Thank you, Nomonde. Do we have one set still to do?
We still have a lot of documents, Chair.
No problem.
Some time.
We have page number 1 for 19 March. Page number 2. Members, are we able to adopt?
Yes, Chair. Member
Thank you so much, Member Christians, and that is seconded by Member Botha. Is that correct, Member Botha?
Sure, Chair.
Thank you so much. We will go to our next document. We are on the annual activity report, 1 April 2020 to 31 March. We're on page number 1. We're on the next page. We can go down. Further down. Thank you, Nomonde. Members, are we able to adopt? That is our first report. I see Member Botha.
I propose that we adopt, Chair.
Thank you so much. And Member Christians, his hand went up again. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, members. The documents were circulated via email. So thank you for allowing us to flight it here today as well. Thank you, Nomonde. We can go down. We can go down. Thank you. Members, are we able to adopt?
Chair, can Namonde just go up one page, or just where the rand values are, the budget for this committee? Okay. I propose to adopt.
Thank you so much. Member Christians, are you seconding? We are grateful that Member Philander and Member Barnes is here with us still. Thank you so much. Namonde, there's one more, I believe. We are on page number 1. Thank you, Namonde. Do we have any member moving that we adopt?
Yes, Chair, Member Christians.
Thank you, Member Christians.
Second.
Thank you, Member Botha. Namonde, is that is all, eh? 1, 2, yes, that should be all. Members, thank you so much.
This is the last one, Chair.
Oh, is this the last one? Sorry.
Yeah, the quarterly report for October to December 2020.
Okay, we can go down. Thank you. Thank you, Nomonde.
I propose to adopt, Chair.
Thank you so much. And that is seconded by Member Christians. Thank you so much. Members, that is all our reports that have been adopted. Nomonde, thank you so much for you. Nomonde, thank you so much that you are here with us today. We highly appreciate it. Also to our colleagues in the Provincial Parliament, within the staff administration that is celebrating Eid, we wish you well and your families. And members, once again, thank you so much for availing yourself this morning. It was indeed fruitful that we are able to ensure that those relationships between DOCS and the committee and SEPs are bolstered as we all work towards the same common goal. We need to strive for gold, I believe. So thank you so much, members. This meeting is now officially adjourned.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.